Well, moving on to our next story. This one comes from Hacker News, and the title here is Researchers Uncover Malware Using BYOVD to Bypass Antivirus Protections. Now, BYOVD stands for Bring Your Own Vulnerable Device Driver.
As you do to any good party.
That's right. I usually do. So the deal here is when an attacker is able to somehow execute malware on a system, the idea is to maintain persistence and cover your tracks and make sure that you're not being detected. There is a problem and this has been a problem for quite some time. It's been a category of problem for quite some time. But this particular scenario is using a driver from the security company Avast. And this is a driver that's intended to prevent rootkits, but it has a vulnerability. But it's a signed driver with a
There's
vulnerability.
Some irony here.
Yes. So they're able to pair this signed driver, anti-rootkit driver from Avast, with some of their own malware to run that malware as system inside the kernel. And I know we've talked about running stuff in the kernel ad nauseum, but the malware here did us one of a few different things. But in particular, it went through and killed a whole host of different security software. And by the way, as far as I can tell, all that security software runs in userland, and notably not on here is CrowdStrike.
Yeah. It's interesting. But there is a lot of all sorts of other interesting stuff that it does attack and shut down.
Yeah. I mean, from Microsoft's own malware engine to McAfee and Symantec and trying to see what Sophos,
Sentinel-1.
Cylance, Sentinel-1. Yeah, all the big
killed
ones.
him? Would it have killed him to put it in alphabetical order? This chart?
It would. Certainly
Just would have made it a little easy to browse through it.
I also thought, by the way, so if you want to find links to the story, you can go to our show notes. But there's a four column grid of process names. And one of them, by the way, that caught my eye was sfc.exe, which is not an anti-malware package. It is the thing that you use to try to recover your system if it's been corrupted. So it not only is blocking the malware prevention tools, it's also blocking your ability to run tools to recover. I thought that was quite interesting. Now, you might be asking, well, what can I do?
Jerry, what can I do?
And the answer is not a lot. So
couldn't the vendor revoke the signature? I mean, I guess that's one thing somebody could do.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
it seems intuitive, but I don't know why. If that were possible, I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, to be fair, this also requires some initial infiltration or foothold on the machine, right? So
sure.
I guess that's where
this is post exploitation for sure.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, the company who found this, I think it was Trellix, if I'm not mistaken. Their recommendation was to basically use whatever EDR tool you have to block a list of known malicious drivers.
Okay.
Which is super deterministic. It's just an awesome.
Well,
an awesome
can
solution.
a non-admin account that, let's say they're operating as a user, can a non-admin in a Windows environment install a driver?
I don't think so.
So maybe another is don't let your people run as admin. Maybe. I need to test that. It's a good thing to do in general, but I'm wondering if they're not admin, maybe that would help.
You could mitigate it. I do think that you have to have the ability to install the driver, which I do believe requires administrative level privileges.
Right, because up at that point, they're not doing anything with any sort of vulnerability. They need that driver installed, running in the kernel before they exploit it. So that is another area that if you could stop that piece, might help.
Yeah. No, by the way, that's not to say that some sophisticated actor could come along and pair this with a privilege escalation vulnerability.
Yeah, this could be a chained attack. It's rude, is what I say. Meanies.
So anyway, I wish I had a golden or silver bullet beyond what Trellix recommends in possibly removing administrator rights, which I feel like, by the way, certainly there's some organizations that have had a lot of success in doing that. But I feel like as time goes on, more and more organizations are allowing people to have admin rights on their workstations. It just maybe my experience is colored in the wrong way, but that's what I'm observing.
What do you think is driving that? Lower IT costs?
I think so.
Yeah. Self-help desk kind of thing, self-administration kind of push the admin load to the user so you don't have to staff up your IT.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cost sensitivities, and your help desk doesn't make money.
I mean, if they installed some crypto miners, they could. Just thinking outside the box, man.
Thought leadership right here. That is some thought leadership.
If you got admin rights, you got to make use of them.
So now there's going to be a clamor for help desks to become a profit center. So it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Those Dogecoins won't make themselves, buddy.